All right, folks. Can I have your attention, please? All right, it is 6:30, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Champaign County Board to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Great start.
You're good.
There we go. All right, now we're in business. Wilson.
Here.
Aris. Hagel.
Here.
Carter. Howard. No. Crane.
Here.
Esri.
Here.
Barney.
Here.
Fava.
Here.
Cortado. Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Lokshin.
Here.
Pugh.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers.
Present.
Suttles. Sexton. No. Sullard.
Here.
Thorsland.
Here.
Banish Theronot.
Here.
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 We have a quorum. All right, before we get started, we do have some inclement weather in the area. If I get notice that there's rotation, the places of shelter will be in the lower level. There's a stairwell exiting this door that you can go down to and stay in the stairwell, but the door below will be locked. If you go to the rear and go down to the lower level, there will be a larger area, but in an emergency, either stairwell is fine for sheltering in place.
Running into the storm.
Right.
I might join you. It's early hope.
All right, for tonight's prayer, and I was looking at the weather before I put this together. Protect us from severe weather and dangerous storms. Calm the winds, quiet the thunder. Bring safety and calm to our communities. Thank you. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Will the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on March 26, 2026, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Bennett Administrative Center, 102 East Main Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wiggs? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Oh, Mr. Sullard, go ahead.
I was going to make a motion to move item 13 F and G, the closed session and the resolution that follows it, into other business before ARPA.
All right, so you want to move that.
Should I just move it to the end then? Okay, let's just move it to the end, I guess.
Oh, you're right. You want to move that to
After.
the item E, in essence, then, is what you're saying?
Correct. Well, after item E, thanks to the addendum. So it'll be item F.
Oh, that's right, yes. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor of amending the agenda, signify by saying aye. Same sign, motion carries. All right, all in favor of approving the amended agenda, signify by saying aye. Pose same sign, motion carries. All right, thank you very much. I will try and keep track of that one. The next regularly scheduled meetings are on the agenda. There will be a study session on Tuesday. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-58 honoring county employees for years of service? Okay, moved again by Wilson, second by Benish Theranont. Would the policy chair like to read the resolution?
Yes, thank you. Resolution honoring county employees for years of service. Whereas it is the vision of Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has a personal devotion to excellence in public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer services to its citizens. And whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have dedication to the best interests of all of the people of Champaign County. And whereas the Champaign County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of the employees who have reached 5, 10, 20, and 30-year milestones in March 2026. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Board of Champaign County hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 26th day of March, AD 2026. Leon Bryson Jr., Mental Health Board, 5 years of service. Lori Brower, Coroner, 5 years of service. Corey Christensen, Sheriff, 10 years of service. Jenna Good, Sheriff, 20 years of service. David Cardani, Probation and Court Services, 30 years of service.
At this time, our probation director would like to approach the mic and speak about a few of these employees.
Hello, everyone. I am first here on behalf of Ms. Lynn Canfield, who could not be here tonight. She's at some meetings in Springfield. So she figured I would be here, and she emailed me something that she wanted me to read about Mr. Leon Bryson. And so I'll read that, and I'm just reading directly what Lynn emailed me. So she said, I regret missing this evening since you're doing some of my favorite county board business. If I hadn't committed to meetings in Springfield, I would be there. Shannon Siders and I even worked out what color to wear, which I'm actually not wearing the color we had decided, just FYI. Most importantly, thank you for recognizing the contributions of staff across all units. On March 16th, Mr. Leon Bryson reached the 5-year milestone. He joined the Mental Health Board administrative team as our Associate Director for Behavioral Health after many years of working with families and youth on mental health and substance use issues. He was well regarded by the people he served, as well as justice partners and social service providers, and his experience and heart have elevated our work. The bonus is his way with words. An email from Leon Bryson feels like a hug. I'm also grateful for the county staff who prepare these recognitions for you and the reminders to us, Bree Farrar especially. Finally, I understand you'll consider an appointment to fill a mental health board vacancy for the rest of an unexpired term. I'm glad when former members are willing to come back for this time-consuming and sometimes heavy volunteer board service. It's especially lovely when they were once our county board liaisons. So that was Ms. Lynn Canfield about Leon Bryson. And I'll also say we did work with Leon a lot out at JDC. When I worked out at JDC, Leon was worked with a program called Parenting with Love and Limits. And so we had a lot of interactions with Leon back when I worked out at JDC. And so the county is definitely lucky to have Leon. I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to Corey Christensen, who has 10 years with the Sheriff's Department, but he started his career out at JDC as well. He worked at our Master Control Center before he became a police officer. So Corey is a huge asset to the county. And then that brings me to Mr. Dave Cardani, who is right here behind me with his wife and son. Dave has been in probation for 30 years. He is not someone who started out at JDC. He has been in adult probation for 30 years. That I mean, we talked about it when it was his anniversary last week, and I was in high school at that time, so that's always like, I like to bring that up. I like to remind everybody. But Dave is an amazing guy. You may have seen, if you're in this building much, you'll probably see Dave either riding his bike or running or walking his bike around the courthouse. Dave exercises very intensely, we'll say. And he is always doing, going out to Meadowbrook and doing stuff to kind of keep himself in shape and keep himself busy. But Dave is a huge asset to our department. Dave's biggest strength is his ability to communicate with both clients that we serve and the staff that he works with. He has a great relationship with his coworkers. He's a team player. He has a lot of requests for clients to be their probation officer. So if it's a repeat client who comes back into the office, they've been off probation for a while, they'll come back in and they'll be like, can I have Dave? So you know that you've made an impact if people come back and they are requesting you. It doesn't work like that, but they will oftentimes still check in with Dave because they know that Dave cares about them. And that's the really amazing thing about Dave, is he cares about all these people so much that they ask him to come to events with him. They will ask him to come to church with him. They will ask him to come to their son's basketball game with them. And so Dave will come down and be like, are you okay with me going to this? And I'll say, yeah, that's fine. Just, make sure you document that you did attend. But not everybody, especially someone who's been working in the department for 30 years, not everybody has that kind of connection and that drive to continue to be connected to these people. And it shows in the quality of his work, how he helps his coworkers. Just yesterday, we're short-staffed right now on probation. We have somebody out on maternity leave and somebody on military leave. Dave was the cover person yesterday, kind of covering those two calendars. And I'm like, Dave, do you need help? Do you want me to see this person or see this person? He's like, I got it. I can see this person here and this person here. And he's just very agreeable. There was a time where a client missed court in the morning. They came down and I probably had a warrant at that point, but Dave walked him down to court. Instead of just saying, go down to court, somebody will help you. Dave leaves what he's doing and takes the client down to court and helps them get the situation resolved. That's the kind of person that Dave is. And he also has helped out at JDC. Dave had no idea of anything JDC related until we were short-staffed in the past few years and we needed help from probation staff. Even though Dave has had no experience out at JDC, didn't start out there, he was willing to go out there and work out at JDC. And he did a great job. Dave can talk to anyone. If there's someone that's upset, we'll be like, hey, let's see if Dave can talk to him. So Dave is that person in our office. He may not remember that he has email. There's a running joke in our office that we'll say, Dave will not really remember something. We'll be like, well, that was in that email. And he'll say, we have email. So he might not be like the most technology advanced person, but he does go above and beyond to help our clients. And we are very lucky to have him in the department. And it makes all the difference to the people we serve and to me. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Just one comment.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Dave. Very inspiring, super inspiring. And then I think if I wanted to start my career all over again, I think I'd want to be in probation. It's amazing. I just want to say this, so amazing that there's so much longevity in that department. And it just speaks to the environment and the leadership and the teamwork and camaraderie. And it's always a blessing to hear all these long-time, long-serving employees. So thank you very much.
All right. On to public input. If there are any members of the public that wish to address the board tonight, please fill out a form by the door and bring it up to me. First request I have is Jason Elliott Benda.
Jason Benda, 1529 Lincolnshire Drive. I am a county employee in the facilities department. The people have spoken. 9 days ago, we had the results of an election start coming in, and I lay awake at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what I was going to say about it. And I'm just a county employee and a resident of Champaign County. I don't have the job that you have. One thing that the voters made clear is that they trust the current government of this county. Sheriff running for re-election received 58.02% of all ballots cast. Clerk received 57.25% of all ballots cast. Treasurer received 57.12% of all ballots cast. That's whether they were on a ballot or not. They received a majority of all ballots cast. In the race for county executive, while the Director of Administration only received 37.27% of all ballots cast, she received 55.82% of all ballots that actually had an option for county executive on it. This is a clear message from the voters that they trust this government. I can't look up numbers for board members with the unofficial results that are currently out. Because even if I tried to look by precinct, some precincts, including the one I live in, are split between county board districts. And then the voters spoke on the advisory questions. Question 3, regarding potential property tax increase, 72.84% of all ballots cast said no. Question 2, regarding possible increase in sales tax, 58.52% of all ballots cast said no. And advisory question 1, 50.95% of all ballots cast said that we should cut services in this county. Now, over 10% actually left question 1 blank. So there are some people with some uncertainty there, but 50.95%, that's still a majority. If we try to amend the Constitution of the state of Illinois, a majority of those voting in the election is sufficient. The state regards that as a mandate. I look at this and I see a mandate from the people, a mandate that I hate, but a mandate from the people that we should cut services. I don't know how you as a board are going to decide to do that. You have to sit here with one eye on Washington, several eyes on Springfield, and eyes on your constituents and on this mandate that you've received. I do believe that no department head in this county would say that they're overstaffed. My department certainly isn't. And if any department head does feel they're overstaffed, I'm sure that the finance chair and the deputy finance chair will hear from them. I've seen the finance chair and the deputy finance chair quite a bit up on the 5th floor of this building, and I'm sure I will see more of them as the year goes on. The one solution that seems most obvious to me when you talk about cutting services is to physically cut the hours that we provide services. Again, I don't like any of this, but that's something that comes to mind. We, at least in the general unit, work 37.5 hours a week for this building to be open from 8 to 4:30. Perhaps we should only be open 35 hours a week, or be working 35 hours a week, or 32.5, or 32, or 30. 55 ILCS 5/3 says that the board has the prerogative to fix the usual and customary hours that county offices are open. And this board has done that, because if we just use the default from the county's code, we'd be open from 8 to 5. So I know the board has that power, and it's something that should be on the table. Again, this is not a suggestion or a recommendation. I hate this. I hate every part of this. But it's something that has to be on the table because this is the mandate we've been given from the voters. It may be a convenience, actually, that, or at least an opportunity, that the general unit contract expires at the end of December, because the general unit contract does mention those hours from 8 to 4:30. And that may be something that this board will look at. I do want to say one other thing about that. Last April, I spoke before this board, and I talked about the living wage resolution that this board adopted some 22 years ago. The current number that that resolution is based on is an annual income of $33,000. By the living wage resolution, by the wording of the resolution, that would require a minimum wage among county employees of $15.87 an hour. As I pointed out in April, that's actually based on a 40-hour work week, which none of us in the general unit actually have. 37 and a half hours would require $16.92. Now, at the time I argued this last April, we were in negotiations and there was offers being presented that were less than these numbers that the county seemed excited about, and we were not as members of the union. Now, the contract we have right now looks much better, and the numbers we have are much better right now. The minimum for grade D this calendar year is $18.45. And as long as we work at least 35 hours a week, we'd still be in the spirit of the living wage resolution, if not the letter. But I am concerned that if the county feels that they need to cut hours beyond that, that we may have some problems with the spirit of that resolution. I don't know what you're going to decide, and I will sit and wait. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Marlon Livingston.
Good evening, Marlon Livingston. I've been here before on the redeploy grant. Just a few brief updates. Most of you, I think all of you, should have been invited to some listening session on a redeploy grant. I just want to emphasize, if you're not able to meet, because we have a short turnaround in the grant, if you're not able to meet with us and you have input, we'll do a separate appointment after hours, whenever you want to do it. We're willing to, even if it's just one person, we're willing to do that. That application is due, I believe, to the state on April 6th, so that's kind of the time window. We are in a planning phase, and so the build of the grant allows for a lot of innovation along the way. So April 6th is not the last day that we can change up the grant and change up things. So I'd invite you to attend one of those listening sessions. I think the other thing I know the resolution's back on the docket tonight, and I just emphasize again, maybe if you've missed the meeting, Cunningham Children's Home, we are not in contract with the state for the redeploy grant. We work under the auspices of the Regional Planning Center, and so I believe the proposition before you is, where is that grant, at least that's the way I'm framing it. I think some others might frame it differently. Where is the best unit of county government to administer that grant? Is it within the regional planning or the county executive office? And so I'm trying to remain politically agnostic, and I'll let you make that decision, obviously. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm available for any questions if you have any.
As I have no further slips, that will conclude public input. All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? By Venish Theranot, second by Esri. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Wilson,
Here. And also here. And
Crane,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Farney,
Yes.
Fava,
Yes.
Furtado, Hanauer, Friedman,
Yes.
Lokshin,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Sullard,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Vanish Theranot,
Yes.
Wiggs, and Locke.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, communications. Do members of the board have communications to share? Mr. Wilson.
Happy Passover and happy Easter. So both of these traditions, religious traditions, are centuries old. The Passover is over 3,000 and Easter is over 2,000 years old. Both are religious celebrations. Both celebrate deliverance. Both celebrate divine interventions. There are about 15 million Jews on earth. That's about 0.2% of the population. There's about 2.5 billion Christians on earth, which is about 30% of the world's population. So to the 15 million Jews, happy Passover, and to the 2.5 billion Christians, happy Easter.
Further communications. Mr. Thorsland.
Yeah, later on, we have a resolution about the that involves PACA and the old poorhouse. We all got a letter from them. I'm not going to read the whole thing into it. I'll maybe excerpt a little bit when we get to this resolution, but I want to make sure that it gets in the public record, and I thank the people that contributed it. The other thing to recognize today, it's Sandra Day O'Connor's birthday. She was a Supreme Court justice, a powerful woman, and most importantly, in 1953, Jonas Salk released the polio vaccine. And for those who watch Fox News or vote for our fearless leader, a vaccine is a thing that helps keep you from getting a disease. Polio was basically eradicated until recently. We hope that people use the best judgment and understand that that vaccine and all the other ones that are available out there are generally considered extremely safe and certainly safer than the diseases that they protect you from.
Any further communications from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2026 regular meeting? Finish there or not? Second. Second. Hagel. Discussion. Chair Locke.
So words have meaning, and if yelling profanity in the meeting can be described in the minutes as passionately argued, speaking loudly enough to tell people who are yelling without a mic when they do not have the floor should not be recorded in the minutes as shouting. Nor should the minutes reflect that I was shouting when time-stamped video replay on YouTube shows that I'm sitting here with a smug look on my face while people were yelling off camera. I would ask, I'm going to vote no on these minutes. They're inaccurate, and there's too much wrong with the description of the auditor's portion of public participation. There's too much wrong with them for me to even remotely begin to describe them. They do not reflect what happened in this room. So I'm going to vote no on them. If somebody else would like to amend them, they're fine. I cannot, without, apparently, since I shout when I'm sitting here quietly, I cannot do it in a way that will not, I just won't. I won't.
Any further discussion? Ms. Lokshin.
I'm just going to throw this in as another reminder to always use your microphones, even when voting, because people at home cannot hear what's happening. I know that we can't control people who are having outbursts in the seating area, but we do need to be on record as board members, so always turn on those mics. Thank you.
All right, further discussion? Go, Member Furtado.
Yeah, I'd like to amend there's no minutes. We often don't approve the minutes at the meeting directly after. I also have concern, as somebody who reads board minutes, often in my research, it becomes the stated record of what happened. And getting them accurate is actually pretty important. So I would like to amend the motion to postpone this to next meeting so that concerns can be addressed.
I have a second from Mr. Sollard? Motion a second to postpone action on approval of the minutes from the February 19th meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I believe motion carries. All right, we will postpone approval of the minutes. Thank you very much. All right, areas of responsibility, summary of action taken at the March 10th Committee of the Whole meetings received and placed on file. Would the Finance Chair like to make the committee's recommendations for item number 1?
Move for adoption of resolution number 2026-59, amending the number of authorized deputy sheriff positions for the Champaign County Sheriff.
All right, second from Ms. Lokshin. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item A has been removed from the agenda and will be on the April facilities meeting. Would the ELEC chair like to read the resolution B?
I move to approve resolution number 2026-60, approving an intergovernmental cost-sharing agreement between the County of Champaign, the City of Champaign, the City of Urbana, and the Village of Savoy for 2 residential electronic collections and 1 household hazardous waste collection in 2026.
All right. Have a motion. Is there a second? Excuse me, second by Mr. Farney. Any discussion?
Mr. Hall's here and available for questions. This is the thing that we do every year that is very, very popular. So
It is indeed very popular and very expensive as well. We're fortunate to be able to provide it. I'm not seeing any questions, any hands. John, I appreciate your presence here. Maybe on the next item. All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Chair Thorsland.
I move to approve resolution 2026-61, approving an annual report on the Champaign County Solid Waste Management Plan to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ellie. Is there discussion?
Yeah, again, Mr. Hall is here. This is the first year we have to provide this information. IEPA has added staff, and their staff interpretation of things that we are supposed to do has apparently changed a little bit, and we are now going to be reporting annually. So congratulations. 2026 is the first year we get to do it.
Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Wilson.
Hey, John, thanks for being here. On the annual report, is just a submission of report. Does the IEPA give you comments back or feedback, or basically they acknowledge receipt?
Well, since we've never done it, we don't know how it's going to work out. But the weird thing about this is most of the things that they're asking us to report on are things that our plan can't even do. So I hope they acknowledge receipt of the annual report. I'm hoping that in the future we may get relieved of this new responsibility, because it surprised everybody in the state that we were going to have to do this, but it's not a big deal, so we'll do it.
Further questions? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-62, awarding on contract for the furnish and spread on the road of bituminous material for the 2026 maintenance of various county highways in Champaign County? Motion by Sollard, second by Esri. Is there any discussion? In the asphalt business for a long time. I'm glad I was able to actually read this one. All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-63, awarding of contract for the furnish of bituminous material from the plant for maintenance of various road districts and county highways in Champaign County? Motion by Sullard, second by Cagle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Same sign, motion carries. All right. We're going to move on. We've got the closed session at the end of the agenda now. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-64, approving on agreement of purchase? Oh, excuse me, that's as well. We've got both of them. I knew I would. All right. We will move on then. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of ordinance number 2026-6, amending ordinance number 742, establishing the rules and regulations governing the sale and consumption of alcoholic liquor in Champaign County, Illinois? Moved by Chair Locke, second by Sullard. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sullard.
I have a question if the ordinance number is correct, 2026-6.
The rest of those are resolutions. This is an ordinance.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jeff.
First of all, thanks for putting this together, Steve. Just for the public, why 7%? And what's the history of increases on fees?
The last time that there was a fee on liquor licenses, fee increase on liquor licenses in Champaign County was approximately 20 years ago. I talked with several license holders. They expressed concern about any large increases. I had initially looked at potentially trying to have a larger increase since it had been 20 years. I arrived at 7% because it is still a significant amount. It is also well below double-digit increase percentage-wise, and that seemed appropriate.
One follow-up.
Sure.
On page 48, do you have an idea what the aggregate impact would be? So this per class. I don't know how many Class A's through Class G's or Class H's there are. What's your thoughts on the aggregate impact?
We've got multiple different classes. For me to really give you a good answer for that, Jeff, I'm going to have to dive into it a little bit deeper. It is an across-the-board increase for all the respective classes, though.
Okay, so then you just say across the board is basically a 7% increase.
That is correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any further questions? Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-66, authorizing payment of claims? Movement by Mr. Farney, second by Member Lokshin. Is there any discussion? I will note that this resolution only approves payment of claims. It does not meet the auditor's statutory requirements. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next are for items on the Rural Transportation Program. Can I get an omnibus motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-67, authorizing execution and amendment of Section 5311 Grant Agreement, adoption of ordinance number 2026-7 to provide for public transportation in Champaign County, Illinois, adoption of resolution number 2026-68 approving the acceptance of a special warranty, and adoption of resolution 2026-69 authorizing execution and amendment of downstate operating assistance agreement. Treasury. So moved. All right. Second. All right, Mr. Thorsland. We do have someone from RPC here to answer questions, if there are any questions. This is for C-Carts, provides rural transit for areas of our community that don't have the same bus service that we have in Champaign-Urbana. Questions?
Yeah, open any questions.
Mr. Wilson.
Is this affected like the other grants are, or is this something separate and distinct? Because I thought some of our grants were either on hold or pending results of the audit, and where does this fall in that universe?
Emma?
Yes. So currently we have been speaking with our program managers at IDOT, and we've gotten approval to continue with the grant application process until, so I will continue to go through and upload all information that's requested by IDOT, just waiting on the audit. So it will allow our program managers to review all of the information that we are submitting along with the grant. And so we are anticipating a continued delay for the audit that allows us to have until, like at the very least, we do need the audit by June 30th is what we've been told by our IDOT program managers, continue receiving our funding for the next fiscal year. But so right now I'm continuing with our grant application process, but we are delayed until we receive that final audit to submit everything.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-70, approving award for contract for Champaign County Select Demolition for 1701 East Main Street pursuant to ITB 2026-002. This is the old nursing home. Motion by Farney, second by Lokshin. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rodriguez.
Okay. Clearly Stephanie is afraid to match me in an arm wrestling contest. I just wanted to note that. Yep. This was I believe the first issue that I was ever contacted about whenever I was elected to the Champaign County Board was, the request was to be able to tour the site and to document what was going on, or the historical artifacts, and be able to, I don't know, show the progression of time. The response was that the conditions were unsafe and they were not allowed for liability issues to allow people to access the site. So it is a shame that it is the way that it is, and safety issues. I guess I just want to acknowledge that this is a historical loss and a shame for preservation.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I've done a lot of historic preservation work in my lifetime, and I wanted to speak to the letter that Mr. Thorsland mentioned. There's 3 specific things they asked us to try to salvage. The cornerstone of the building, which lists the names of the architects, including the locally significant Joseph W. Royer, and the contractors, the English brothers, who still contribute to our community, and you've seen them on other buildings. The Spanish-American War Memorial, now located near the superintendent's residence, at the former flagpole, and the Joseph Royer designed interurban stop and shelter directed north of the county home at Main Street, where it served as a kind of introduction to the whole site. I would like to advocate, I don't necessarily think that this is a resolution type of thing, but I would like to advocate in this order, the movement of the preservation of the Spanish-American War Memorial seems absolutely doable. I think we could just bring a crew in and do it. I can't imagine a universe in which we would intentionally destroy a war memorial. Second, the cornerstone of the building seems maybe more difficult. Third, because my life is weird, I have actually tried to fund the preservation of an interurban stop and shelter. We ended up moving away from it when I was in that role, in part because it was a wildly costly proposition. Refurbishing an interurban shelter cost upwards of $100,000, and this was 15 years ago, no, 20-something, I'm old, years ago. So I would say that out of all of them, short of just not knocking it down, but if we wanted to do anything more significant, especially if we wanted to do something that would meet DHPA standards in terms of actual preservation of something like that, might be more costly than one would think. And while I think preserving the interurban is important, that infrastructure, matters, and telling that story matters. That would be the one that maybe I'd be a little bit more skeptical of. But I just wanted to share those thoughts.
Ms. Jett, in her role as interim facilities director, has been in discussion with these folks. I think she has some comments.
Yeah, so the shelter was never on the slate for demolition. It's actually in relatively good shape. We already have the supplies to do some minor repairs to soffit work and stuff like that, and that's on the docket for this summer. It does need some tuck pointing, which we don't have a quote on. I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to be a super high priority, but it's not to the point where it's compromising the integrity of the shelter at this point. The War Memorial, we are going to move ourselves. We'll probably bug Highway to use one of their bigger, fancier pieces of equipment to give us a hand. We'll move that over by the interurban shelter. And we've already reached out to PACA to come meet with us and talk about where we would want to put it, what that would look like. We would also put the cornerstone there as well, given that we can get it out of the building relatively intact, which I think we can, but I don't want to make a promise that I don't have a lot of control over. It is the cornerstone of the building, and we're knocking it down. So we will, of course, tell the demolition crew we want it, and we want it intact, and see what happens. I think, even if it comes in two pieces, we can still set that up. I also think at some point we should talk about drafting probably a bit larger historical sign commemorating the Poor Farm. Administrative Assistant Megan and I did a lot of research into the history of the Poor Farm in preparation for another topic, and it has a very lengthy, rich history, and it serves as a final resting place for probably 100 to 150 county residents over by the Brookins portion of the property. So I think that there's an obligation for us to show honor and respect to everything that happened, especially if you know the history of Poor Farms. They're not great places to live. We're not sending our dearly loved ones to a poor farm. And so I would like to think that we would take the time to honor the people that lived their lives there. So maybe once we get done with the demolition, and we can come back and have a conversation about what the kind of signage and memorial would look like for the farm in general.
Go ahead, Mr. Furtado. Oh, excuse me. Ellie, go ahead, then back to you.
I thought it was interesting. I didn't realize until I saw in this letter that the county doesn't have any sort of historic preservation ordinance on file, and I would just like to recommend that that's something that we look into in the future. I think that would definitely be a good thing for us to look at.
Stephanie?
If at any point you want any help writing a grant for interpretive historical signage, research for interpretive historical signage, help getting a marker, like a state marker, or any help writing a grant for historical preservation, I would be glad to do so. I have done probably at this time in my life more than a dozen of those projects. So I would be very, very glad to do so. That's very much in my lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can share it with more of you too. The documentation on the Poor Farm is fascinating. They had some superintendents who kept really detailed records. Those are all kinds of maps around the old round barns that used to be out there, who lived there, of the superintendents. They didn't really track the names of the residents or maintain those records after they passed on. So I think there's a lot we could put on the signage that would be appropriate.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Wilson,
I
Administrator.
have one more question than How does the demolition contract get changed to reflect this desire?
It's already been discussed. It was part of the bid process that there were going to be items that we wanted to preserve.
Okay, so it's discussed, but is it also in the contract then too?
Yeah, there's actually a couple other items that I picked out. Some of the more ornate window framing, I wanted to grab that. There's an emblem piece that's in very good condition on the exterior of the building. I've asked for that to be preserved. There's one sign inside the building that I think we could clean well enough that it wouldn't have any toxic mold on it. So I'm gonna try to salvage that, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to keep that. So, yeah. Because there's very little, like we can't really keep anything in the building. I was trying to find things on the exterior of the building that we could try to hold on to. So.
Mr. Esri, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Michelle, or maybe you know, or maybe Mr. Summers, and I may be remembering wrong, but was PACA invited to go through the buildings previously? It almost seems like maybe they were, to get a chance to salvage items out of them. I mean, that would have been.
Sounds familiar, like when it was very first closed down, like a long time ago. That sounds familiar, but I would have to check on that. Yeah, before they kind of just.
Yeah, it started truly falling apart. I'm just. Was just wondering. It seems like I kind of remember that too, but again, I may be remembering wrong. But hopefully, maybe I'm remembering correctly, and they were given that chance. Now, granted, maybe hindsight being 2020, they would have grabbed more had they known. But hopefully, they were given the chance.
Further questions? All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. This will make Dr. Storr very, very happy to hear. Thank you. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-71, appointing Jennifer Straub to the Mental Health Board, term ending 12/31/2027? Motion by Locke, second by Lockshin, which is appropriate somehow. All right, is there discussion? Seeing none, go ahead, Chair Locke.
Jen Straub is the reason I'm in this room right now. Despite that, her time on the Mental Health Board as a liaison from this board was great. She was, Lynn says amazing things about Jen being on the board. I see Jen at the bus stop most mornings for our daughters, and same thing. She has the qualifications for this. She was a great member. She will continue to be a great member. Enthusiastic support from me.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, would the Labor Chair like to make the committee's recommendation for item number 1?
Sure, I move to adopt resolution number 2026-65, approving the agreement between the Chief Judge of the 6th Judicial Circuit and the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Adult and Juvenile Probation Officers on January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028.
All right, is there a second? Second by Mr. Farney. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on, Kathy is not here. There is an update in your packet. There's also an update in the packet regarding the SLEEP program. Regarding setting deadlines and benchmarks for incomplete ARPA projects and spending, there was a request that this be on the agenda. Ellie, would you like to lead the discussion on this or defer?
Sure, I can.
Sure, thank you.
I guess I would start by asking, I know, Michelle, that you and Kathy had a conversation about this. Can you just kind of update the board on that?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things. So first and foremost, everyone that still has money to spend is within their scheduled contract. So no one has not spent their money and their contract has expired. That's not the situation that we have. We've gotten feedback from most people. They're aware of their contract dates, they have plans for the money, or they're already putting together the documentation for us. I'm going to run through a couple that we have flagged that you might have flagged. So under broadband, the money for the Farm Bureau and Finley, we're not going to need all of that. We've already determined that piece. We're looking into, however, we have to keep it in this bucket. So it either goes into the whole broadband bucket, which is totally fine. I was also thinking that maybe we could put together some education materials about what we've done for the broadband project. I don't imagine that being more than $5,000 to $10,000 at the most, and then dumping the rest into just the overall broadband and doing a couple more feet or something like that. So that's one potential change that we have. We continue to Paul Volo on probably an inappropriate amount of time. They say that they're on track, things are going well. We've got one specific area that we're waiting to hear back a little bit more on, which is the providing of equipment to individual homeowners, regardless of where they live. So if they do come back and say they'd like some assistance with that, we've already started kind of throwing out some ideas for how we could generate distribution of modems. Sorry, I don't know why that word escaped me. So that is tentatively in the works, but they're not 100% sure that they're going to need assistance with that. They're still working through a few easements, but they're mostly done. And they say that they're ready to start construction as soon as the weather is appropriate, and that the moment they start construction, they are going to burn through the $6 million very, very quickly. They're not concerned about not spending it. So I'm going to do sleep at the end. Everything else is pretty on track, except I know there's always questions about the Garden Hills money. It has been spent. We are just going back and forth with them over making sure that we get the appropriate documentation that we need to provide to the federal government, but we are being quote unquote billed for it. The money will go out the door soon. Sangamon Valley Public Water District, they have about 90,000 left. They say they are going to use it for their project. We are continuing to talk with them about, can we get a timeline? What's the holdup? So waiting on a little bit more information for that. Okay, the other one, the low hurdle grant. Steve, do you want to talk about that one?
Sure. I seem to continually have to talk with the folks from Champaign County Economic Development. They are assuring me that they will have the money out by June. They were supposed to have the money out by December. The only concern that I would have at this point would be that if we were to switch the money to, say, the chamber, we would be looking also at I think, somewhat of a timeline for them to get that program up and going. And that concerns me. I have not reached out to the director of the chamber for the last few weeks. She had a family emergency, so I've decided just to wait. I will, however, at the end of this month, have a conversation with her, and if I don't get assurances that it will be out the door before June, I would recommend that as a board you look at finding another agency to take those funds. This has gone on a bit too long.
So is that the only recipient at this point in that situation where we need to give them a deadline or move it?
Well, that's the one that I have concerns about at this point.
If you're talking about all the small business assistance, like that bucket, yes, everything else has been spent.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, all buckets.
I want to talk about sleep, but these are our two, yeah. But so again, for this specific issue of this low hurdle grant, you can reallocate it, but it has to maintain the focus of small business assistance, which is what it was originally dedicated for.
And I believe in talking with Kathy, it has to be a grant. It can't be just rolled over to the chamber for their loan program.
So can we give you direction tonight to move forward with if those funds are not spent by June 15th.
I would appreciate that direction. Thank you very
Then
much.
we, as a board, will move those funds to another agency.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we do that right now? Can we give thumbs up to direct June 15th as a deadline for the low hurdle program? Okay. Okay, so then we're going to talk about sleep.
So there is a considerable amount of money left in sleep. Just for us all to be on the same page, sleep has a very specific focus. It's ring doorbells and lights for homeowners. So we've got pretty much two major requests. One is to just take $150,000 of that and transfer it into LIHEAP. We just don't think that even with other adjustments, we can spend this much money on the sleep program in the amount of time that we have left. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy and Delitzo, but I believe LIHEAP does not have other funding at this time. So $150,000 into LIHEAP would be major and would help people directly here.
Where are you getting 150? I guess I'm looking at page 73 of the sleep update, and I see higher numbers in the balance.
So I'm not talking about moving all of it.
Okay.
I'm talking about moving 150,000 of the remaining. And then we think that if there's an agreement that we could expand the sleep program to renters and not just homeowners, and we work on some different types of distribution methods, we could spend the remainder of the money in that context of providing ring doorbells. We would put more of an emphasis on the ring doorbells and less on the lighting, because the lighting just takes longer to get all of the permission, coordinate the construction, get it installed. But the ring doorbells, again, if there's no concerns about just any neighborhood that's being impacted by violence and homeowner and renters are eligible for these, we could get through that pretty quickly, we think.
Ms. Lakshan.
That's okay. I guess speaking to the smaller amount, is it something where we're able to just purchase the ring doorbells and have them at the county?
Yeah, that's what we would do. We would purchase a ton of them, and then we'd go out we'd probably have events. We'd probably go out to groups, give them handfuls of them and say, give these out. There's a variety of different ways that we would do it, and that would
make
be
sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Wiggs.
So then if we bought the doorbells, would that open us up to the ability to go to other neighborhoods or, like you're saying, events?
As long as there's no objection by this board, then yes.
I think that's what we had potentially discussed.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, we were talking about two things then, right? Moving 150,000 to LIHEAP and using funds to purchase a supply of how many?
Well, so removing the limitations of homeowner, so expanding it to renters, and then also not necessarily requiring a restriction of it being neighborhoods that are not in municipalities.
Mr. Pugh.
Thank you. Just that's fine. We bring the ring doorbells and stuff like that, but I'd still would like them to be going to low-income neighborhoods right away and not get siphoned off to somewhere else. Just want to make sure. Thanks.
Ms. Furtado.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I believe I actually called out in one neighborhood. I won't do that again. Maybe somebody lives in it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think economically challenged neighborhoods. And I do believe one of our target neighborhoods originally was in Rental, so it was in an incorporated neighborhood. We felt like Rental was underserved, so it's not as if, I think mostly we just didn't want to duplicate the efforts that had already been done in Champaign, but I'm fine with it being in incorporated areas. And I also think that there are other unincorporated areas in some of our more rural areas. And I also think that some of our smaller towns and villages could benefit greatly from this and would fit within those economic demographics really, really well. I could even think of places in Muhammad, you know what I mean, that would greatly benefit from this, and we should be able to get through this. And I think this model, because we saw how well it worked with the gun locks, I think if we have the right folks in place to get it done, we'll be able to get it done.
And frankly, we have the infrastructure in place already with the gun locks and the gun safeties, and a lot of the relationships already built for our target demographic. So,
And we have some upcoming summer events, including like at Douglas Park, that this would, I mean, I think this would be ideal.
Yeah.
I'll just take this opportunity sidebar to share that we did get our grant extended a little bit for the gun safety program. Any other discussion? Mr. Farney?
I just have one question on the moving money to LIHEAP. That still fits us in the bucket that we're required to be in?
That's what Kathy says.
Great.
So, well, and I'll just clarify. So, you know, Kathy and I did take the liberty of drafting an agreement before that final federal deadline to give us this out in the event that we could not spend all of the sleep money. So we updated that agreement to say sleep or LIHEAP, knowing we might need to come back and run the LIHEAP by you. So, yeah.
Any final questions? Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. What I'm hearing you saying is that LIHEAP still falls in within the community violence intervention.
LIHEAP is eligible because we updated the final contract for this pot of money, this specific sleep money, to include funding LIHEAP if the board so chooses, because we saw the amount of money that was left and we're worried that it would not be able to be all spent on sleep. And that was all that stuff that we had to do before, what was it, the end of 24? Yeah, that federal deadline where we had to put, like, we had to carve it in stone. This is what we're spending the money on, no matter what.
Okay, so let's do the same thing with this. So to give direction to admin on this, let's do thumbs up if you are in favor of moving 150,000 to LIHEAP, and the other, I'm sorry, what was the dollar amount for the rest? We don't know
Whatever
exactly.
the remainder is, can
left.
go to renters. We will focus on low income, but it can go to renters, and we will look for different types of distribution methods, and we will not be as concerned about incorporated versus unincorporated neighborhoods.
Okay, so thumbs up for that. Okay, I think you have clear instructions on that. Thank you.
Are there any other issues on the list that I have not updated on that we need to talk about?
Just one. For the broadband, is there a way to get a monthly spend down projection?
Yeah, we can definitely ask them for that.
So how about if we do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm no longer chair.
Right. Sherlock.
All right. I just wanted to inform everybody as to broadband. Due to a constituent concern, I've been in touch with Volo a bunch in the last bit. They are agreeable to come here whenever they're invited. So I've invited them for next month. So somebody from Volo should be here to talk to us about, hey, this is what's going on. They are extremely confident that they'll be able to get everything spent by the end of the year. There is, at least to me, there is known to be one extreme holdout. She refuses an easement, and that is her right. So they're currently looking with their engineers about how, if they can reroute or if they'd have to go the judicial process. But as of right now, it's with their engineers, and they're looking at rerouting. But they still say that even with this, they're on track.
Tato, go ahead.
This one is actually for Angie. And this is just because it's the only other one I see on here that's 6 figures, the clerk digitization project.
Sorry, I'm on the mic. We're not managing that.
Okay.
It's, if you're talking about the recorders digitization, that was.
Yeah, so that's been managed by IT, and
okay.
we have spent it. We are just still paying invoices.
Okay, cool.
It's like a hostage trade. They give us back our documents, and we give them money.
All right, if there are no further questions, thank you, Michelle. We'll move on. The grant coordinator update information is in your packet. The purchases not following purchase policy report was not provided by the auditor as required by county policy. Moving on to our addendum. Ms. Furtado.
Really quick on that, is there any other methodology in which this board can get that kind of report? Because while I don't think it's appropriate that the clerk is failing to do his statutory duty. I think we as a body have our own duty, and this kind of oversight is a part of it, and I'm uncomfortable with the idea. Is there another way to generate that report, or is there not?
I can talk with our finance director and see what we can do. All right? Jeff, go ahead.
Why wouldn't you use a writ of mandamus to force it? If it's a statutory requirement.
It is. Maybe our board chair and I can go talk with our state's attorney. We've got a good working relationship.
That's the
and see
process,
what we
right?
can
If
do.
someone doesn't follow the rules, then you do a writ of mandamus and force them to follow the rule, right? I'm not the attorney, and I'm just a disclosure. I've never been to law school. It's just something I heard.
All right. Okay. The next item is the one on the yellow sheet, your addendum. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-72, amending the schedule of authorized positions in the Administrative Service Department for Program Director, Therapist, Case Manager, and Family Engagement Specialist?
Steve,
Motion-
this
yes, go ahead.
was previously tabled, so I think the proper
that's right.
procedure is for us I move to remove it
Thank you.
from the table.
All right, we have a motion to remove this from the table. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. All in favor to remove this from the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. All right, motion carries. All right, I will read the motion. I will read the resolution again. Can I get a motion to adopt Resolution number 2026-72, amending the schedule of authorized positions in the Administrative Service Department, Program Director, Therapist, Case Manager, and Family Engagement Specialist? Motion to approve is from Vanish Theranot. Is there a second? Second by Wiggs. Discussion. Go ahead, Ms. Rodriguez.
Is there any, and I guess, is it okay if I direct, is there any alternative on the table for this? Is anything workable?
I don't think that there's an alternative. Julia said that RPC has a plan, but no one's here from RPC to tell us about, well, I don't know. Would you guys be able to speak to that? I don't know that they, I know they're from RPC, but they weren't.
Yeah, we received a lot of, we gave a lot of time, so I guess, but you're not RPC though, right?
You're not.
Yeah.
Conversations.
I've gathered that, Liz. But like okay, so we don't have anybody from RPC to speak to an alternative. It seems like this is.
Can Delitzo speak?
Good evening. So RPC has been involved in this initiative since about 2021. We were approached by Sam Smith, Dream, because we are part of Champaign County, and I think it has to be a unit of local government that can apply for these resources. And so we did that in 2021, and our role has been the fiscal agent. We didn't have the capacity to actually run the program at RPC because, as you recall, we were involved in operating a lot of the pandemic programs. And so for the last 5 years, is this on? For the last 5 years, RPC has been the fiscal agent. Of recent, there have been issues that have been raised about the program by the funder, DHS, and we've had 2 or 3 meetings that has involved Cunningham, who's now providing the direct services. We are currently working with Cunningham to submit the grant application, which is, I think, due next week. The one thing that has changed as far as what our plan is in terms of what the state's attorney may have shared with you, we were mainly focused on the fiscal agent aspect and not really providing a lot of oversight in terms of program operations. What we're proposing to do moving forward is to provide that. And we have Lisa Benson, who's our community services director, and she's a licensed clinical social worker that would work closely with Cunningham. That's the plan that we shared with the state's attorney. That's the plan that we've shared with the state. But as far as these other discussions that have been taking place with stakeholders, we have not been part of those discussions. So,
Locke.
Our public defender is one of the stakeholders, and she is here, and without any leading questions, I'm just going to ask, Liz, can you tell us your take as a stakeholder in this, one who represents the youth involved?
So you'll recall that I was at the meeting where this was tabled, and I supported tabling it because concerns had come to our attention early in the year about the way that the program was running, how it was being managed, and how the staff was able to fulfill what they believe their obligations to my clients to be. Because these are juvenile delinquency clients. They are the clients, generally 90% of them, of the public defender's office. And so we work closely with the staff who administer that program. You've heard James talk before, he's here in the back again. And these positions that are in this schedule are the positions that deal with our clients when they are on the juvenile redeploy probation program. So when this first came on the agenda, I supported tabling it because I had not yet had an opportunity to have conversations with any of the other stakeholders, and frankly was not aware a lot of what was going on. I didn't know about the problems that that were happening. And so I supported giving us time to get together and try to come up with an alternative. And that is what we did. We have had many meetings with many humans to try to figure out what the alternative could be. That being said, there's a lot of people having a lot of meetings that I'm not a part of. And so, you know, we have not, let's just say this, we have not been able to reach a resolution that fixes the problems that we were made aware of earlier this year. So the reason why this is on the agenda is because it is an alternative to the current process. The current process would be that we keep everything exactly as it is, that RPC is the fiscal agent with slightly more supervision, works with Cunningham, and the people who run this program stay as employees of Cunningham, and then we see what happens with the program, whether or not those things get fixed. One of the things that was brought up, and I do not want to get into nitpicky details of personnel issues or who's fighting with who or what the problems were, that would take all night and there's an Illini game. So we're not doing that. But suffice it to say that I am not sure that those problems are getting fixed, that a lot of the things that had come to my attention are still problematic. And so I understand that there are some objections to whether or not housing this in the county executive's office is appropriate. I have heard those objections. I don't necessarily disagree with all of them, but we have at this point not been able to come up with a viable alternative to which unit of county government may replace, in terms of employing the actual staff who work with the kids, what other unit of county government would replace currently what Cunningham is doing, which is housing those staff members. So this would be what I conceive of as a stopgap. It gives an alternative to the current structure. It allows exploration of that grant, which is due April 8th. And yes, that is quick, but a lot of it has been written. And, you know, I heard that there is a stakeholder meeting that is coming up. I found out that there was a listening session yesterday. And if anybody has seen my calendar, you know I need a little more lead time than that if I'm going to participate in anything like this, because I'm booked solid for like the next 3 years. So I'm not going to be able to participate in that. I don't know what anyone else's participation is going to look like. But that's why I am supporting this, because I believed that it would be at least an alternative to the current system that we have going that would give us some room to explore so that we do not continue to suffer the issues that have been identified to us earlier in the year. So my position has altered, and that is all I have to say about that, unless there are questions.
Mr. Pugh, did you have a question? Dotto.
Follow-up question for Delitzo. Delitzo, what you just described, and thank you for coming, I really appreciate it, and thank you for the work that you've done on this. What you described in your statement seemed to indicate that your role is going to expand a little bit beyond just that of fiscal agent to do some administration. I think what's on the table is how much of that administrative workload are you taking? How much of that administrative workload currently as it sits would be part of Cunningham. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, where's that dividing line? And if the concern seems to be that administrative piece, could you, as RPC, take it as a whole? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're not proposing to directly operate the program. Our proposal is to provide more oversight with Cunningham as the subgrantee, which is something we were not doing previously. We were just mainly focused on reporting, providing whatever the state needed. But what we're proposing to do moving forward is to have Lisa Benson, who is our Community Services Director, that would work closely with Cunningham to ensure that all the deliverables that they're supposed to be meeting programmatically, that those are being met. If there are any challenges, that those issues are being resolved. So for instance, there have been issues that have been raised about the therapist and so forth. So she's more of the clinician at RPC and would be able to work with Cunningham closely in trying to resolve those issues so that the kids that were referenced are being served appropriately. But again, as RPC, we have not been part of the discussions that have been taking place with the stakeholders. So, you know, we're offering more than what we've been doing to make sure that this program continues to be viable here in Champaign County. We don't have the capacity to actually take it on and actually operate it fully as Cunningham is doing currently.
Thank you, yes. How many actual stakeholders are there?
I don't know. I'm not part of the, I haven't been
Okay,
part
I was
of those
wondering if you knew off the
discussions.
top here, that's all. Does Marvin know by chance? I'm sorry.
Say it's easier to qualify. It's easier to qualify your stakeholders in terms of departments. So all of court services, so the public defender's office, obviously, state's attorney's office, RPC, our community partners, parents are stakeholders, our clients are stakeholders. I think the county board, in terms of these are residents of our community. I think you could arguably say you're a stakeholder. The judges are stakeholders. Probation are stakeholders. So it's an array of folks. I think when we had our listening tour initially, we invited obviously all of you, court services, and again, we're willing to meet with anybody, even if it's just a one-on-one at any time. So those are, probably 30, 40 folks if you put them all in one room at a minimum.
Thank you for the list. Thank you for the list. All right, Ellie, go ahead.
I have a follow-up, sorry, but you two are working together, correct, to rewrite the grant right now?
I'm sorry. We've been working much more closely since the issues have arisen that have spilled over into the county board and the state. We have a corrective action plan that they're monitoring, that we have certain deliverables due to shore things up, everything from physical space to the team dynamics, et cetera. So.
All right, thank you very much. Ellie?
I have a question for our public defender, and perhaps don't go too far, Delizzo, and also perhaps for James, if you're willing to speak. I guess from what we heard at that meeting several months ago now, and what we're now hearing is that this has become an urgent situation from the perspective of the staff, and that we're at risk of losing staff who are critical to serving the kids that you represent. I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to that, and also, since we're being asked to have this moved as a stopgap to the executive's office, my Delizzo question is, would RPC be open to discussions for being the long-term home if we're able to give you the capacity after this stopgap?
Could you ask me my question again, please?
I guess, could you speak to the, like, why this has been untabled? It seems that there's now some urgency that you didn't have a few months ago in terms of the importance of the staff and if we read between the lines, it seems to me what I'm hearing anyways is that the problem is Cunningham, not the staff who we hear rave reviews from you and others. So,
and this is exactly what I didn't want to get into in a public forum because I'm not sure it's appropriate in terms of, personnel discussions. I will simply summarize and say that I believe that we are at risk of losing some of the staff, and I'm going to leave it at that.
okay, so then to my question about stopgap versus long-term home, I guess, so yeah, if I realize maybe you weren't a party to some of these discussions that have been happening.
We
but
have not been.
Would you be open to being a party to, if we're able to find a stopgap home for this, then, it seems that RPC would be a logical home for this program long-term, if not somewhere in the courts, but just, I don't know if anyone's talked to you about that or if you have any thoughts that you are able to share right now on the spot, sorry.
We're continuing to have internal discussions about it, but even as of today, I can't give you a definitive response to say, yes, we'll take it on right now and operate the program directly. We will continue to do that, but what we have offered, and I think this was probably offered to the state's attorney, is what I shared earlier. But I will follow up with my team and have some discussions in terms of what that could look like and what's the timeline we would need in order for us to perhaps have the capacity to do something like this.
Go ahead. Jen.
Thank you. I actually have a statement, and then if anybody, Director Siders or any of the previous speakers would like to speak to this, please feel free to come forward. But I will speak to my experience in working with youth in the legal system. Building relationships, trusting relationships, is hard work and it's imperative. And if the current situation is such where those relationships could disappear because the staff is going to leave, this program is it's dead in the water already. I was a big holdout against this before too, much like Ms. Pollack. I wanted time for the stakeholders to talk. And when I'm hearing that kids in the justice system right now are having to miss school to go to walk-in hours for any sort of substance abuse treatment, that's not functional. I feel like this is at an inflection point, and we need to do something, and I do think a stopgap measure. I do not think permanently it should be a part of the executive. But I do think that we need to do something where these relationships, the whole purpose of the grant, where these relationships are maintained. It's no secret to anybody watching, to anybody in this room, that youth violence is starting early this year, and we need to do things to help. We need to be the adult in the room, and one thing that came out in our caucus was the ultimate stakeholder in this is the county board, because we run the judicial system. The county has an obligation to run the courts. We have an obligation to run the judicial system. This helps the kids in that, so we're the ultimate stakeholder. If we think it's not working, it's our obligation to find somewhere else for it.
Gamala.
I guess my concern is moving it to the county executive's office, and everyone is assuming that the individuals who currently are part of the team that work with Cunningham will be willing to move to be employees of the county government, but we only have one employee who's come to these meetings who says that that's what he wants. The issue, it sounds like from caucus, is the therapists and people having to go to Rosecrans to receive services. But how would that change if we move everyone to the county executive's office? Because there's no guarantee that the therapist who has recently been put in that position is willing to leave Cunningham. So what is the executive's office going to do as far as providing services to the youth if we don't have a therapist? I don't know if anyone can answer that question, and maybe they can't. Oh, Shannon?
Site is moving forward, yes.
I just wanted to come up first and address what Chair Locke said about the relationships. The reason that I am here is because I believe in this team that's currently doing this work. James in particular has been doing this work for a long time. If you have dealt with these clients, these kids before, they're hard to get people, they don't trust easily. And what he has done in the past almost 3 years, he's been dealing with our JDC kids for almost 3 years, in turn the redeploy kids. He comes out to JDC twice a week, every single week. I have been in this field for a long time, and I have dealt with a lot of providers who are very well-intentioned, who say, oh, you know, I want to do this, I want to do this, I'm going to come out, I'm going to do this. And then they all kind of fall off at some point. Another thing that people struggle with that are, again, very well-intentioned people, they want to be friends with the kids. They want to come out and they want to work with them, but then they try too hard to be their friends. What James is able to do with his consistency, with his commitment, with his dedication to these kids, to holding them accountable, which is something that's very beneficial. He's not just their friend. They know. If we're having problems with the JDC kids, I'll email James and say, hey, these kids are giving us a hard time. Can you go out and say something to them? And he will go out and be like, listen, you guys need to stop, knock this stuff off, kind of thing. And they listen to him. And so to me, the biggest concern here is, yes, losing those relationships. It has taken a long time to build those relationships, and it would take somebody new a very long time to rebuild those relationships. So I just wanted to say that. Yes, we did lose the therapist. I don't want to speak for her to say that I know for sure that she would return if we went to the county, but if they moved to the county, but I believe she would. You want to say something?
So, excuse me. My name is James Benson, by the way. So I come to these meetings because the other ladies would like to not be involved, because the last time I was here, things got a little not out of control, but got a little heated. And so I volunteer myself to come and speak. I would never speak on their behalf unless they did not tell me that I could. And they have all told me that, I speak for them. As far as the therapist, Shay, she was our therapist. I've spoken to her, and she is willing to at least do the substance abuse group still, as well as our opening assessments. We were doing a mental health assessment and a substance abuse assessment for each kid, unless they were already connected with the therapist. She still has a passion for it, and she still has a passion for the kids, and she would absolutely be willing to come and, at the very least, provide those substance abuse groups for which she's trained in, as well as complete the mental health and substance abuse assessments.
So the rest of the team is willing to also move? Is that what I just want to make sure I understand.
Correct.
Okay. And what support outside of what she is volunteering to do? What does she do additionally at Cunningham Shay? Does she provide counseling?
She was providing counseling to the redeploy youth, but again, she's no longer with Cunningham, so she's not working with the redeploy youth at this time.
Would she be willing to do that for the county?
Yes.
And then Brett.
Most of my comments have to do about with process here. There's a common analogy in Al-Anon groups that okay, a scenario. A family wakes up to find that their family member has sauntered into the kitchen, vomited, and gone back to sleep. And the rest of the family spends time arguing on who is best equipped to clean up the vomit, has the best plan to clean up the vomit, right? Rather than not only addressing the problem, but also blaming the other parties for what their plan is to clean up the vomit, when they're not the source of the vomit, right? I think we could do well to remember that logic with other departments, I guess, that are dealing with poor leadership. The second thing I want to note here is that when I originally voted to give this to the county executives, it was because I could not imagine why an organization or who would believe it to be an optimal thing to put a decision like this in front of a 22-member board. That seems crazy to me, but now seeing the result of giving a few months for these conversations, it seems quite clear to me that this actually would have been a really good spot to have some kind of a subcommittee. And I think moving forward, whenever we do encounter things like this, I think leaning on the committee process, that's what we do, is something that we should strongly consider to avoid, again, blaming the other person for the quality of their approach to cleaning up the vomit.
You go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a few things, if I may. Quick point of clarification. Whose employees are these? Are they Cunningham's or are they ours? So we're talking about these 4 individuals. They're Cunningham's. Okay. Just want to make sure about that. It doesn't feel right to me that we're getting in the way of not only an RPC grant that they're working with Cunningham Children's Home right now to rewrite it and fix it, but we're also dealing with the different agencies' employees directly. And I think that's a little bit we shouldn't be going down those roads because they don't end well in the future. We wouldn't like if somebody came into our departments and started trying to do that to our employees. Second thing is, social services administration is its own dog. It's a specialized thing. Our county executive's office has nobody that specializes in that. If the gentleman here who's actually the program director leaves, it might take us a few months to find somebody to actually fill his shoes. And we have nobody to run it. And I know Mr. DeLizzo, no, let's call him DeLizzo, sorry. They're doing oversight. They're not running it. And the third thing I have is what our state's attorney, Julia, has said the last time when she was here, and I wish she was here, that maybe executive's office cannot take on these employees and run that. So I wanted to say that, and I'll pass off to somebody else, and I'll come back around.
Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you. So I think some gaps have been identified. Is that correct? And then there's a corrective action plan in place. Is that true also? At least I heard that right. Was there? There's some gaps. There's a correction action plan that's been drafted or approved, and is there some runtime for the completion of those actions? Is there a due date?
That's been submitted to, Cunningham's did our part, I think it's about 15 pages, and we've submitted that to the Regional Planning Commission, and then I believe that's been sent off to the state. I don't believe we've received it, we haven't received it back yet.
So I'm actually going to align with my partner here, Brett. I don't think it's our job to step in and manage employees of another organization. And I don't think it's our job to, nor do I think it's a county executive's job where they have the leadership capability or the experience to run this very crucial effort. And there is a corrective action plan in progress. I believe it's incumbent upon us to allow that corrective action plan to play out and see what the results are, rather than try to make a wholesale change. So I'm going to vote no on this.
Mr. Farney.
Got a couple of questions about the actual grant. I understand that we're in the application for the next year's grant. What's the start date on the grant? Is it a July 1st grant? Okay. So if it's a July 1st start date, we're currently under an award with Cunningham Children's Home. Are we saying none of these employees would be county employees until July? So we're still going to have 4 months going here then that it's still under Cunningham?
And RPC, feel free to correct me, but the contract is awarded to RPC and they have contracted with Cunningham. The grant itself is not awarded to Cunningham.
Right, but I would assume we have a contract with Cunningham that RPC would have to uphold.
Yeah, I believe there's a
They're under contract with them
30-day,
until,
I believe there's a 30-day cancellation clause.
okay.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
And the other thing that's just is coming to my mind as I'm reading through this and hearing things and just thinking of the actual nuts and bolts of a grant process. Currently, RPC is applying for the next year's grant. Have we as the county, I mean, I would think RPC as the grantee, would want to be interviewing who they are going to subcontract to and make sure it's the right one. And to my knowledge, RPC has not been in communication with the county over, are you the best person to take this over? And I've got to be honest with you, I don't have a good answer on this one way or the other, but I'm just seeing every time I look into it, every time I talk to someone, we peel the onion and I find more problems, more hoops to jump through, whatever you want to call it. It gets more complex every time somebody talks. And I got to be honest with you, deciding it here in a meeting right now, this is not the way to do it. I used to, when this first came in January, I was ready to support it. Even last week, I was ready to support it when it came back to us. And as I've heard more and more people talk about it, it's opened up more and more questions. And I don't feel comfortable voting on it.
Stephanie, go ahead.
I want to point out a couple of things. This was first brought to us, I believe, 3 months ago. So the timeline that we're under is of our own doing. Inaction is action. I've said that many times on this board. Inaction is action. Second, there are certain people that work directly with these youth. Those people are James, our director of juvenile detention, and our public defender. All of them have asked us to do this, right? They've asked us to do this now. They had concerns before, but we're fine with tabling it with the idea that the issues would be solved. And I'll just be really honest with you, it's a red flag to me that none of them have been incorporated into the grant writing process. We clearly said, y'all get on the same page. And the people that are the most directly serving the youth aren't on the page. They have not been incorporated into the grant writing process. They just found out that, you know, this opportunity to learn more about it is at a time when they're at work. I feel like we delivered a really clear message and it wasn't picked up. So I'll just be blunt. That means my it was clear that there were issues. We said, hey, we really, really care about those issues. Go fix the issues. We gave you 3 months to get on the same page, and you failed to do so. So if we decide not to act, not to vote for this, and it falls apart, it's on us, it's on this board. The people that do the work have asked us clearly what they want done. Do I think it's a heavy lift? Do I think it's complicated? Do I think it's putting the executive's office in a really difficult spot? Absolutely. And I think we did that, right? We're the ones who said, hey, you have a month. Let's table it. We're the ones who gave them this window. It didn't work. So we can continue to just do something that is clearly not working, or we could take what the folks that do the work are asking us to do. I honestly don't even understand how this is a question. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think the executive office particularly wants this? No. But nobody has come up with any other viable solution. And so yet again, they're put into an impossible position, clean up the mess that they didn't create. So we could not heed the advice of the folks that actually know these kids, that work with these kids. If that's the decision that we make, the consequences of that decision are entirely on this board. Full stop. Because they have made it abundantly clear what they want to have done. And to be blunt, that hasn't changed. Just the acuity of the ask has changed over time. The ask hasn't changed. And it's our delay and our hemming and hawing, just like we've seen over and over again. People want to talk about the auditors stuff. It was our inaction, not moving fast enough, and I can own that. We want to talk about the whole situation with Brookins and Bennett, and a major, significant program that was supposed to go in there, right? Do they have a home yet? Why? Because we couldn't make a decision. Inaction is a decision. They have my vote because the people who are doing the work have asked for it. And at the end of the day, whatever happens is on this board, nobody else.
Further discussion? Brett, and then Mr. Farney.
I would disagree with that. There have been attempts made. I don't know how far along they are, but we're going down that path. It seems to me that the worst outcome is that not us, actually, Cunningham might lose employees, is the worst outcome. That's up to them. They're the employer, they're the employees. We have enough stuff to do right now. We have an audit. We have a budget, possibly reducing services. What else do I have? We have stuff going on with AFSCME and the executive's office already right now for grievances. We have a full plate. And I'm not seeing it here. I'm sorry. We're sticking our nose into something that does not directly involve us in between employer and employees. And if they don't like it, sorry. They're the ones that hired them. And I also really want to hear from Julia Reitz, please, and thank you, if this is actually legal first before we even put it on. Because then we actually vote for it, and she comes to us 2 weeks later and going, sorry, can't do that. Think of another option. I'll let Mr. Farney go, and I'll come back around.
Mr. Farney.
Yeah, again, me just looking at process, wanting to make sure that we're looking at this the right way. Has the county executive's office already discussed with RPC that they would, because it's their grant, we're not the ones applying for it, RPC is applying for it, so it's their grant. Are they already in agreement with, okay, it'll be a department of the county executive's office? Or should we be, the county be applying for this grant themselves and competing against RPC for it? Again, it's another one of these questions that we don't have answers for.
I would say that RPC is aware that
Aware is
moving
different
forward.
than actually saying this is what we're doing.
That's my answer, though.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe Michelle has something.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, we have spoken with RPC and made it abundantly clear that we would be moving forward in the best interest of the grant. So whether that's they continue to apply for it and be the fiscal agent and we manage the employees, or the employees stay at Cunningham, whatever, we're not going to compete with them for the grant. We're not going to intercede in a way that's going to delay the grant. It's going to be a completely collaborative discussion as to what is the best course of action for securing the grant again for another year.
Is that it, JJ? Ellie? Jenny?
Thank you. I just want to, Brett, I agree with you that if there's concerns about legality, that's absolutely something that would stand in the way of the county taking over the grant. However, that's not what we're voting on tonight. We're all talking about the why, but what we're voting on is adoption of a resolution amending the schedule of authorized positions, saying that if the grant would move over to functioning over here, these positions exist. We're not saying we are moving it. We don't have that power. We have the power to create the positions, and that's what this is voting on. And then the grant, RPC, everybody has an option. People have options. Stakeholders have an option that's created. But all that we're voting on, all that's on this paper in front of us, is amending the schedule of authorized positions. There's nothing saying, and we're taking them. This is just saying, hey, these are available. These positions are available. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that correct?
That is correct. I also just want to clarify to State's Attorney Rietz's comment regarding legality was there is nothing that prohibits the executive's office from operating a grant, which we already know because we already operate grants. It was her personal opinion that she didn't think we should be operating a grant.
Further questions? You guys, if you want to call the question. Go ahead, JJ.
Let's say that this passes tonight, and between now and, let's say, July 1st, these issues get fixed. Can we make these positions go away and leave everything the way it was? No, I mean, they need to come off the books. If they've never been filled, they need to just go away.
That could certainly happen. Go ahead.
If they're not filled, I think as when we're going through the budget process, we look through and, hey, these are open positions, let's just take them off the books completely. That seems to me to be the appropriate time, and that would be right around.
I'm calling the question.
Matt has not spoken yet. Go ahead, Matt. Tricky, Matt. All right, we have a motion to call the question. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
With the same sign. I believe the ayes have it. All in favor? That's with the voice. I think, will the clerk please call the roll on this one, just to make sure that there's clarity.
Wilson,
No.
Green,
No.
Esri,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Fava,
Yes.
Hurtado, Hanauer Friedman,
Yes.
Lokshin,
Yes.
Pugh,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rogers,
No.
Sexton, sorry, Sullard,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Benish Theranot,
Yes.
Wiggs,
Yes.
and Locke.
Yes.
I just want to point out you skipped over Kegel.
The ayes have it. I'm sorry.
We skipped Kegel.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Kegel.
No.
Okay.
All right. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Moving on. See if I can make this up on the fly. Can I get a motion to enter into closed session? Closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2C5 to discuss the purchase or lease of real property for the use of public body. Following individuals may remain present: Tammy Ogden, Delitza Sulamoyo of RPC, County Executive Steve Summers, Director of Administration Michelle Jett, and Clerk Angie Johnson, and Angie Patton. Have a motion? Got a motion from Esri, second from Farney. We're in closed session. Will the public please, oh, yes, we have to do a roll call on this. Working your way out. All in favor? I'm sorry. Angie, would you please call the roll?
Wilson,
Yes.
Hagel,